Yep, and we're in the game, and in the bottom right corner of the map, it is ECV's Frixy playing as Terran. That is great, because so far we don't have a Terran qualifying yet. So, let's hope he or another Terran makes it through, and go ahead.
His opponent in the bottom left corner is also a Terran, which will guarantee at least one Terran in the round of 16.
Yep.
It is from Team Maegis, Androide.
Android, alright, cool.
He has a nice logo floating next to his command center, by the way.
I'm going to zoom in on that. That's a cool logo. That's a decal, I believe it's called, and it says no pronouns. Nice. Alright, cool. Let's see how he matches up against Terran. So far, they're doing the exact same thing. I do believe that in TVT, the deviation comes usually a bit later, in terms of build orders. I think I've seen a TVT in the previous qualifier. You weren't there, but Hilke was there. Unfortunately,
we see a deviation right now already. We see that Android is getting a refinery before his barracks, so maybe going out to some early Reaper aggression or even something stranger. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, in the meantime, Frixy just gets his barracks at the usual time.
Yeah. So refinery before barracks, and so far, no barracks yet. There they go. Okay, so you're right. So this allows, of course, going to refinery first means that as soon as the barracks finishes, Android has some gas to spare, and he can spend that on, techie units. First scout going out now from Android. He is lucky to scout the right way. This is a 4-player map. You don't know where your opponent's going to spawn, and so Android makes a gamble, or he gambles, and he gambles correctly.
Yeah, especially if you do some early aggression, it's always nice to scout your opponent first, and then you can really prepare for what you're doing.
Yep.
And I'm curious to see what's coming out of Android, because he has a lot of gas, and he's just building one barrack, so it's not going to be Reaper aggression. In fact, he's making a marine. It's going to throw down a factory, I guess, somewhere soon-ish. There we go.
Nice. On the other side of the map, Frixy did a cool move. He unloaded he made sure his marine popped out on the outside of his barracks, so that he could start shooting the ECV from Android, and that barely got away with 3 hit points. Pretty close. Okay. Oh, ECV doing a little blocking there of the barracks. Barracks throwing down a reactor, so this is of course where he spent some of his gas on. Do you think he's gonna go for what's he gonna do? Hellions probably after this. Double Hellions.
Guess Hellions. So he made his barracks at the front, and then he had to fly it over, which is of course a bit of a loss of time. I mean, you see now that the factory completes before the reactor does. So I guess in this case a little improvement could have been to just build the barracks really in his base rather than at the ramp. I mean, you're playing against another Terran, so you don't need to keep Zerglings or anything out. There's no real need to follow it in.
All right. Good point. Also, he may have wanted to keep a scout out, but of course, Frixy's scout wasn't anywhere near. It will be approaching the base now. Can it be stopped by this marine? I don't think so. I think it will slip in, and we'll definitely see. Yes, here we go. It will see the factory. What's going on there? So, Hellions will be expected by Frixy, I can imagine.
We'll also see the starport. So, we see that Frixy is expanding. He's just staying in his base. Probably will defend.
Both players supply blocked, actually.
Well, okay, yeah, but Android has a supply depot finishing now, so Frixy will probably just be on the defensive now that he has scouted his opponents. We'll just see and wait what's coming for him, and then try to leverage the fact that he got his expansion early. Oh, Frixy is flying his command center away from the natural location to his main. I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe expect a Hellion drop, and he doesn't want a vulnerable command center there? That's odd. I mean, command centers themselves aren't that vulnerable against Hellion, so maybe it's just that he doesn't want SCVs flocking around that command center, and then the SCVs being vulnerable to Hellion drops? I don't know.
Well, I could keep the command center just there and then move all the SCVs to his main mineral line. It seems a bit of a waste of time to float it back and forth. In any case, there are Hellions coming across the map right now. There's also a Banshee following up.
Oh, they will get a tank shot in the face if they move up just 1 hex further.
Oh, the depot was lowered in an attempt to lure the Hellions in, but Android's not taking the bait.
Nope.
Yeah, access has been denied, but the Banshee is now coming in to see what it can do. And in the meantime, the command center that was just floating down was upgraded to an orbital and is now floating back up again.
Uh-oh, one SCV going down. Frixy was right to expect some air pressure there. Or some pressure from the air, I should say.
But I don't think this Banshee is going to do anything else because it doesn't have cloak yet. The cloak's finishing up now, but there should be enough energy for 2 scans.
Cool. The tanks have just shelled away at these Hellions up front. I think they're going to retreat for now because these Hellions will not be successful in breaking through the front there.
They simply can't get in unless they spend half an hour shooting at the destructible debris.
Yeah. Alright, expansion for Android going up as well. Although it is much later than Frixy's expansion, I do believe that Frixy only now starts mining from his expansion, so the difference is not that big.
Yeah, that's because the whole floating back and forth that he did. Also, if you look at the SCV count, it's currently 30 to 25 in favor of Android, who just killed a couple of SCVs with his Banshee. And the Banshee has 4 kills right now. So the economic position for Android is not that bad actually, even though he didn't really do that much damage with his aggressive opening.
Yep, you're right, and he's sitting on a comfortable pile of Hellions. Of course, Hellions very good against these clumps of Marines, but not as good against tanks. Another supply block, by the way, for Frixy. He does seem to be hurt by this because his SCV production, as you said, is staying behind Androids, and he's also not producing many units currently queued up in his various production facilities. Oh, and this Banshee is doing a very good job of keeping Android in his base, although keeping Frixy in his base. Although of course that was the end of the Banshee there.
Yeah, it got I think 5 SCV kills in total, so it's been decent, not great, but it has kept the pressure off for some time. But now that pressure is coming in the form of 15 Marines, 3 tanks, and a medevac. And in the defense, there are 2 tanks and a bunch of Hellions as well as a Raven. So I think this should be enough for Android to hold. But there's the medevac, so Frixy could be lifting things directly into the natural and get Android off guard that way.
And meanwhile, there is a Hellion drop inside the natural of Frixy. So Frixy, of course, needs to spend some time fixing his home position. Oh, lots of SCV take. Blue Flame just finishes, so the Hellions do lots of extra damage to light units, and we see lots of Marines actually dying. No Hellions have gone down so far. Oh, terrible! Lots of SCVs surround the Hellions, but don't surround Blue Flame Hellions with your SCVs. How many SCVs just went down there? A total of 19 right now. Of course, that is including the SCVs that went down before. Frixy is tempted to go in and attack. Just thinks, well, if my opponent has units in my base, he probably has less units in his own base. But there's a very good defense set up there, and many of the Marines just died.
There was a drop from Frixy in the natural of Android. He dropped a tank and 4 Marines, so he got a couple of SCV kills. But in the end, Android used a Seeker missile from his Raven to almost killed the tank, and then there were some Hellbats that cleaned everything up. So I don't think the damage was too bad. And if we look at the SCV count right now, it's 36 for Android against 23 for Frixy. So the economic advantage is definitely on the side of Android, who is now going to go for a frontal push.
Yep, and he does seem to be in a good... No, don't siege your tanks out in the front there. Very difficult position. I think Frixy is in a lot of trouble. Actually, I do think that he won't really be able to stop this push.
No, it seems quite difficult. Android also has air advantage with a Raven and a Viking, so he can use that to spot on the high ground and then shell away to the depot and his barracks, and eventually inch his way forward, maybe even drop Hellbats. There's no tanks anymore for Frixy, I believe, so yeah, Android just has free reign to go in, and GG, he takes game 1, and since this is a best of 1, he takes the series.
Yep.